Hi and welcome to Cars and Coffee Stories. Today we're in Los Angeles at Auto Conduct. Next to me is Brendon. Nice to meet you.
Hi, how you doing?
Tell us about your car.
All right, well, it's a 67 Firebird. It's a car that I bought probably in 2009, drove it stock for a year, and then tore it apart. 5.5 years later, it's what you see in front of you. It's basically, I wanted a vintage aesthetic exterior with like modern, drivetrain and performance. So it's got a stroked LS1 engine, so it's a 383. It puts about 553 horses to the at the crank, 442 at the wheels. It's all been dyno tuned, built by Superior Automotive. It's all Detroit speed suspension, Corvette disc brakes all around. The engine is set back several inches, so I get a better weight distribution. And T56 transmission, fuel injection. So it's great for track day and driving.
Where came the idea from for the design?
I've always...
It was your idea, right?
It was my idea, yeah. I've been partial to Pontiacs and Firebirds. Wanted a first gen because it's smog exempt, as well as it's a smaller, lighter car. A lot of the GTOs, the second gens, they just kind of get bigger, heavier, beautiful cars, but I wanted something that's a little bit smaller and lighter. So it came out of an 01 Trans Am. It's always been a Pontiac engine, but even though it's a corporate Chevy LS, I've painted it Pontiac blue just to give it that little nod to history. But like I say, it's got a fast 90 intake. It's got the Holley throttle body on there. It's using a Z06 mass airflow sensor. I've got aluminum flywheel on it. It's got a reduced crank pulley. It's got a ported LS6 heads on it. And other than that, I want it to be useful for track day, but still run on pump gas all day long.
So you do race this car, right?
Yeah, open track day racing. It's not built to any spec or any class. My roll cage probably wouldn't qualify because it's too far back. I wanted to be able to drive it on the street and not hit my head on it if I got into an accident or something. But it's still there. It'll provide protection. But if you look at the engine from a side view, you'll see that it's all behind the front axle center line. So I get a much better weight distribution. Plus, it being aluminum makes it a little bit lighter.
What was your best experience with the car, or the worst experience?
Crazy enough, one of my favorite things about it is the fact that I got to make a Hotwheels of it this past year.
No way.
So it is as authentic as it gets because I designed it. And it is an authentic replica right down to the roll cage in the interior, right down to the Detroit Speeds 4-link suspension on the bottom, as well as the headers and everything else. I've got my French tail panel, my 69 Trans Am spoiler, LS engine. I've even got the honeycomb grille pattern here that I've pirated from a 65 Mustang. It's not a daily driver. This engine does not like to sit in stop and go traffic. It starts, just getting, it's not happy with idling and stuff. It needs to rev and run. So, but I do make sure I drive it every week because otherwise, why have it if you don't enjoy it? So take it out to an event like today.
In what condition was the car when you got it?
It looked great from 10 feet away, but it was very rusty. It was an East Coast car. Yeah. So once you started peeling the vinyl roof off, once you started taking the panels off, it looked like it was pulled out of a lake. It was pretty bad. I had it acid dipped and the body, the floor pans were all perforated. It looked like Swiss cheese. It was pretty bad. You look at the car, first judge is like, oh, the guy's too cheap to paint it. Maybe. But the beauty of this is that when you're looking at it, you can see all the fabrication work done to it. If you look at it compared to a stock one, like for example, the wheel openings, I've trimmed the inner lip back so it's slightly larger, fits the 18-inch wheels. This weld mark is where the inner fender attaches. So this is all single wall sheet metal. Gives me room for my tire to keep it out as wide as possible, but yet I can still turn it lock to lock with, going through the suspension travel. So it's all mini tub, the inner wheel opening comes in through here, so I've got plenty of room for that 275 tire to turn. Couldn't do that with a stock setup. Same thing with the back. I've got some vents here I've added for rear brake cooling. I've got some ducting in the front for front brakes. But this also is attached up here. I've got 335s and I've still got room. I could go with 3 inches wider tire in the back. The quarter panels, they are stretched just ever so slightly, about an inch and a half in the back here. Goes all the way to the stock door jamb, but it's just wide enough for the 69 Trans Am spoiler. My bumpers, I actually had to widen them to make it all fit. So it's not narrowed, it's widened. Most people narrow them to get that nice, tight, fit around the body line. My tail panel, it's Frenched. So it's a little custom look that you wouldn't see on a stock vehicle like this. And then also I did some things for practical. Doesn't add horsepower, but it makes it easier to use. Like my fuel filler neck is from a more modern vehicle, so it's a larger diameter, works with California gas pumps. Same thing with, I added the anti-slosh valve in there, so every time I accelerate, fuel's not spilling out the back. I've added drains in the corners here so it doesn't collect water. It just dribbles out and goes out the wheel well, just to keep it from rusting and rotting again. And little things like that. Or I've moved my seat mounts back so the tall guy like myself, or even you, if you're sitting in the driver's seat, you can drive the car and be comfortable. And just a lot of little things to make it practical as well as fun and better driving. Like I added an oil temperature gauge here, but I added a factory style air conditioning vent and then put the gauge in there just to keep it from being obnoxious, like say building up the A-pillar or something like that. So kind of gives it that vintage feel, but yet still has everything I need.
Autonomous driving, what do you think about it?
I'm sorry?
Autonomous driving.
Autonomous driving, I think it definitely has its purpose. There are people out there who are not passionate about cars. They'd rather be on their phone, they'd rather be doing work, whatever. Great for them. I want to drive my car. You know what? Funny enough, I have a 55 Chevy and I'm half tempted to go electric with it. I want to make a gasser out of it, but I'm like, it'd be fun because I want to do a wheel standing car, something that will just have the torque and the power, and that would be perfect. I could put the batteries in the trunk. I've been talking with some people about it, but I also like 454, big block, 4-speed, something like that too. So I'm torn where I want to go with it, but I definitely think it has its purpose. I would miss the sound, but the idea of torque at 0 RPM is actually pretty cool. So probably. I haven't seen that. I've forgotten how many big block Chevys I've seen, how many LS, 55 Chevys I've seen. You see them with Hemis, you see them with everything, but I haven't seen them electric yet. Sooner or later, someone will do it. If it's not me, someone else, I guarantee, will do it.
Brendon, thank you so much.
Thank you.